Welcome to the Passion Points podcast, providing concrete data on how consumers are changing as humans and how brands must pivot to keep up. I'm George Carey, and today I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Corey Cunningham, Senior Manager of Global Insights at LEGO, to get into a topic very near and dear to both of our hearts, the future of fun. Welcome, Corey.
Hi there, George. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, as always. You know, there's been a ton of talk about the impact of COVID on so many levels, but to the best of my knowledge, no one has talked about its impact on fun. Like, what does fun even mean anymore? And what does that mean for consumer products and media properties who are trying to deliver it?
Yeah, thanks, George. Given that we are the LEGO Group, and literally our reason for existing is to provide fun leisure time experiences for kids and for their parents, this is extremely critical to how we think about our overall business, the products that we develop, and the broader LEGO ecosystem experiences that we offer to really ensure that we stay abreast of the zeitgeist of fun, and how we continue to look towards the future to meet our consumers where they are with the needs in their everyday lives.
Well, that's awesome. And today we're going to use data to look at family fun from two angles. First, how COVID has changed kids and parents as humans in ways that directly impact their appetite for family fun. And second, how one of the world's leading family entertainment companies is using these insights to make some pretty major strategic pivots to anticipate them. Ready, Corey?
Alrighty, let's get into it, George.
Okay, let's get right into it. Our navigational tool for today and the data you're going to see comes from our proprietary Passion Point study. This is a first piece of research that turns shifting consumer emotions into concrete data. We measure 105 different emotional priorities. We have 5 years of longitudinal tracking. We speak to 80,000 respondents annually across 11 global markets, and we can dig into 11 different product categories to understand the emotional priorities that drive each of those. This is a subscription-based study. We have a number of different wonderful subscribers, many of whom are leaders in their field and leaders in their industry in trying to better understand how do consumers evolve as people and how they have to pivot to remain relevant. And Passion Points can be a very important tool for this. So let's get into the topic of fun at hand. And we're going to look at 3 different themes, one through a parent lens, one through a kid lens, and then one through a full family lens. Let's start with a parent lens, and the theme we want to explore is fun that helps moms and dads find personhood in parenthood. You know, one of the things that COVID has absolutely done is made parents, moms and dads included, understand that they're not just child rearers. There's a human being that has their own needs beyond those of their kids on top of that. And you can really see that come to the fore here as you look at the trending data here of our Passion Points. Here are 3 passion points that are very focused on a parent's attention to their child. One's about the happiness of my child, one about encouraging my kid to love themselves, another's about making sure my kid has the confidence to talk to me about what's important. You can see that all 3 of these things, while still important, are very much in decline. You know, that helicopter parenting mindset of I've got to be there, ever present, is a little less than it used to be prior to the pandemic. And in its place, there's been this surging desire for personal freedom and personal independence for the parent on their own terms. You can see a 53% increase in the parent passion point of having the freedom to make my own choices. This is especially true for moms. You know, moms obviously have had a constant role as a very significant part of the caregiving unit. And here there's very significant increases in mom's desire to have some element of personal liberty and autonomy. And Corey, I'm sure you've seen some of this in your experience at LEGO.
Yeah, absolutely. Particularly as we think about how we can continue to reach more consumers, both kids and adults, we really try to keep a close pulse on what are the things that both parents and kids are considering and what's important to them. And especially for moms, we know that we've had a long-term barrier to LEGO engagement with moms buying on behalf of their daughters, as well as adult females considering LEGO for themselves. So as we start to look at some of these trends with moms and what's important to them, we're working to cater the Lego brand experience and positioning to showcase that, a Lego building experience can be just as relevant for mom, and really helping moms feel empowered to choose Lego as a leisure time activity, in a way that's just as relevant as how they might be considering it for their kids. So these sorts of data points, as they're trended over time, really help arm us with the confidence that we're heading in the right direction as we develop communication and marketing assets to reach this female segment.
Yeah, and you can see that this, not just at a human level in terms of freedom in the abstract, but on this next page, you can really see how this sort of cascades into the world of recreations and leisure. This looks at moms and dads' emphasis on my hobbies and my personal passions and my personal fulfillment through these things. And you can see that each one of these things, despite some real challenges they faced through COVID, have all been a significant ascent for both moms and dads.
And dovetailing onto my earlier point, given what George is saying, is this data showing about the continued increase in the importance of hobbies and personal passions just further gives us license at the Lego Group when we're really taking a wide aperture of what's important to people in their everyday lives, that, Lego can play a really meaningful role in terms of the hobbies and personal, the hobbies that we can help fulfill and the passion points we can target with Lego building experiences to really meet people's leisure time needs. So consequently, what I'd like to highlight here is how we've taken the data that the family room provides through what George has given us an overview of, and how we've translated that into action. So over the past 2 years during the pandemic, we've developed an ad campaign called Adults Welcome, because we know that these adults are looking for things that enable them to pursue their own hobbies and personal passions, and we really want to give them license to do so. So when we think about how we can translate this passion that adults have for pursuing their personal hobbies and kind of those fulfilling self-interest, what we've done in response to this is developed a marketing campaign called Adults Welcome. And what was really critical about the data from the family room is that it gave us the confidence that it was worth investing in this audience target, given the trends that we're seeing in the data. And the idea here, as I said, Adults Welcome, this is to indicate that Lego building is just as relevant for adults as it is for our kid consumer audiences. And it's constituted a universe of lifestyle imagery and product development that is specifically targeting passions for adults. There are probably not too many 6-year-old boys or girls out there who are interested in a Marilyn Monroe painting, but obviously for our adults audience, that's very resonant. We're reaching them via influencers, as you can see here on the page. That reach adults and can really bring license to saying, hey, this is acceptable for me to do this as a leisure time activity.
Let's now switch over to our Passion Point data set for Gen Alpha, and one of the things it had to say about the future of kid fun, more specifically girl fun, which we've summarized in the theme Girl Power. Our data set is showing some massive shifts in the gender role and emotional priorities of girlhood versus boyhood. In particular, we're seeing a surge in girls' desire for personal agency and an end to the mindset of being a pleaser. So one of the passion points from a kid standpoint, and again, these are kids 6 to 12 years old, is this idea of fortitude, of being strong. You can see where our kids were is that an emotional priority back in 2018, particularly for girls. It simply wasn't a big deal for girls. They didn't spend a lot of their emotional bandwidth focused on it. That's not the case anymore. This is up 36% as an emotional priority. And you can see it's not going back down. It's not like, oh, COVID hit and this thing went up and now it's going, no, this appears to be here to stay. And with it comes a whole bunch of really interesting life skills, which again, 7-year-olds weren't always all that focused on, one of which is learning how to make money. So this looks at both a boy and a girl perspective on the learning how to make money passion point. And here again, very significant increases versus prior to the pandemic. And then last, we will see this whole kind of movement in a direction of independence and autonomy, even away from their parents. Now, this is still very low on the passion point scale, but it's moving upwards. And again, Corey, I don't know if you've can comment on this from your experience at Lego, but it's a very significant long-term trend to keep our eye on.
Yeah, and to your point, George, why this is so important is because one of the things we say at the Lego Group is that our brand experience really delivers on the notion of joy of building and pride of creation. And the more independent building experiences that kids have, where they're able to see the fruits of their labor and develop the self-confidence that comes with successfully completing a Lego set, it's really this virtuous cycle in terms of facilitating that sense of independence, positive self-esteem, etc. That we really see as a recurring trend. And this is what we continue to look to communicate with the brand experiences and marketing that we deliver to help drive this notion of independence in kids.
And in terms of what's going down, you see the exact same notion, but on the other side of the coin, because passion points, they're very much based on external validation. Somebody else telling me as a kid how I'm doing or how I'm performing, or in really steep decline. So, for example, getting good grades. This is something that boys and girls, especially girls, used to be very, very focused on. Not so much anymore. Again, they're much more focused on those internal markers of success and fortitude and strength and agency than they are from those that come from the outside world.
So consequently, what we've done in terms of reacting to these trends is we've really embarked on a major girl-targeted marketing campaign to indicate that the Lego brand is as relevant for girls as it is for boys. And capitalizing upon some of the trends that we're seeing here with this sense of self-determination and self-esteem and the importance of independence. And if you remember from a few slides earlier, we even saw this trend even more pronounced for girls than for boys. We're consequently really looking to tap into that. We know as a Lego brand that we have a perception problem. The reality is that in our research, we've seen that parents don't see the Lego brand as an ally in helping raise their creative girls. And consequently, as we look to foster that independent spirit, we're really working to show the world that girls can have as much creative potential as boys can through Lego play. Boys have been our sweet spot historically. So this is where we have to close the gap with girls, and really looking to, as I said, kind of follow the trend that we're seeing in the data from the family room to do so. So consequently, what we're working to achieve with our marketing is this third box you see, which is to inspire parents of girls to choose Lego play for their daughters and rebuild the world through their eyes, and give those girls that really strong sense of independence through their accomplishments in Lego building.
Okay, so we've had a look at kids, we've had a look at parents. Now let's have a look at the full family and our final theme of fun that helps address the parent paradox. From a kid standpoint, family fun's kind of a no-brainer. You can see here there's a passion point. This is at the very top of kids' emotional spectrum. And if possible, it's gone even higher through the terms of COVID. We are now at 3% increase in this passion point from 2018, which is kind of expected and what you would want for a child. But for moms and dads, not quite so much. It's family fun is still a very big priority. It's at the top of their emotional spectrum. But it absolutely is trending down a little bit, not in rapidity, but with some sort of some consistency there over the last 5 years. And if you look at kind of a juxtaposition of two, I think, very telling passion points, you'll see that there really still remains and maybe is growing this tension between my own needs and my needs to fulfill those of my kids. Here are two passion points. One looks at being present and in the moment with my kids. That's the red line. The green line is my happiness. So you got the red lines focused on kids fulfillment, the green line focused on parents. You can see those two lines move in the absolute opposite direction. When one goes up, the other goes down. When one goes down, the other goes up. And for the statisticians in the room, this correlated a 0.89 correlation. That is almost a one-for-one correlation between these two opposing passion points. So family play is going to have to look pretty different from what it was in the past, where moms and dads were willing to stuff their own needs to make sure their kid was entirely happy, which Lego is doing quite brilliantly.
So when we think of how we capitalize upon this trend, the third big point that we've been really emphasizing in our overall marketing strategy is the notion of family play, with really giving license to the fact that these experiences that adults, may have wanted to use their kids as a front for, or may not have felt, licensed to engage in on their own. We're really encouraging both adults and kids to engage in Lego building simultaneously. One of my favorite examples is when we've done research in the past, we've had dads, for example, when we've been doing focus groups, talk about how they've bought the Lego Star Wars Millennium Falcon, for example, and we ask them how old their kid is, and they say, oh, I have a 4-year-old at home. So, really giving these parents an opportunity to fully engage with those, activities that can benefit both them as well as their kids. So rather than feeling that they're having to make sacrifices on behalf of their kids' interests, this is something that they can enjoy as a whole family. So given this trend that we've seen over the course of COVID, we've embarked on a handful of different campaigns. One is called #Let'sBuildTogether to really encourage families to consider Lego as something that's a whole family activity. LegoCon is our kind of online fan-based convention with content and experiences for both adults and kids, as well as Building Together, which is digital building instructions that give people opportunities to build simultaneously as a group rather than it being on an individual activity. Both parents and kids can have different aspects of the building experience that they're responsible for. And finally, Lego Build Day, which is December 26th, where we know that a lot of families receive Lego sets as a gift on the 25th. Most people have the day off after Christmas, and really stimulating that whole family building experience. These are all things that we've developed over the past couple of years. Again, with this data from this Passion Points tracker that's given us the confidence to develop these consumer marketing campaigns and overall experiences. Back to you, George.
Yeah, thank you. So that's our thought starters for today, the future of family fun. And I guess if there's a couple of thoughts we want to leave you with, as you all think about how to promote and disperse more fun into families' lives, a couple of ideas here. For parents, feed the parents' need and that new appetite for me fun as something separate from we fun. For kids, how can you help kids, and especially girls, assert control over their world versus escaping from it? And finally, for families, how can you help parents find more personal enrichment in family-oriented activities? Corey, thank you so much. It was a real pleasure speaking to you, and I so appreciate you joining the podcast.
My pleasure, George, and thanks for having me. And very glad to bring to life what we're doing at the Lego Group to capitalize upon the data that the Family Room delivers to us. So I hope everybody found some inspiration today and some of the activations we're taking.
If you found value in this podcast, we encourage you to subscribe, share, or connect by clicking any of the links below. And if you want to learn more about our Passion Point construct and how to subscribe, please check out the show notes or visit our website at www.familyroomllc.com. We'll see you next time.